Hi everyone, it's Missy. We are 5 to 6 weeks after our frost-free date, so I'm just going to give you a garden update on what we've done and what our garden is looking like. So for the strawberries, these are the strawberries that I transplanted earlier in the year, and what I'm doing this week is I'm making sure that the plant only has 2 to 3 tendrils coming off to start new plants for next year. And the reason why is because you don't want to have the plant overproducing like 4, 5, 6 I had on one plant, because then that puts too much stress on the plant. And then also it helps with the spacing to keep them in rows. So I'm constantly coming out here and moving these guys so that way they stay in a row. I also mulched with grass clippings just to help retain some moisture. The wind kind of blew some of them away, but so I'll have to remulch there. My second year strawberries, I have a cover over it to protect them from the birds. They are now ripening. I'm going to show you over here. We got some nice looking strawberries coming along. And so I'll just be taking the net off and harvesting those on a daily basis as they come in. I've also had some bug issues. Now the only pest issues I've had are on the flowers that I plant around the perimeter of my garden. It's leaf hoppers, and I don't know if you guys could see because it's a little bit blurry, but they're making holes in the leaves, and then the leaves are slowly turning yellow. What I'm going to do is just dose the flowers with some Miracle-Gro liquid fertilizer to help keep them going so I don't lose them. The column, let's see, the nasturtiums coming along, and I've also planted zinnias along this perimeter and they're doing well. The blueberry plants do have some blueberries. I did dose them with some muric acid, and I got too much on this plant, so that's why it looks sick, and I'm hoping that it will come out of it soon. It did lose all its berries that it had, but this plant over here is doing marvelous and has some nice clusters of blueberries that are hopefully going to be ripening soon. The cabbage is still under its protective cover, as well as the celery, so don't have to worry about clover worms. And then we've been harvesting the lettuce. We've taken a head every 3 days to eat, which has been really good lettuce. So you can see where we have some holes here. And then this is my head lettuce. So I have kind of like a bunching lettuce, and then I have a head lettuce, and it is forming its heads. And then of course the romaine. And I've already been harvesting those as well. So that's all been good. I had to replant my beets, so this is probably the last week that you can actually replant items that didn't sprout for you earlier, so you could see that they're really small in here, but that's okay. They're doing well. I did put a shade cover over them because they're in a really hot part of the garden, and this will allow them to not get beaten to death by the sun. And then I have my bush beans over here that were planted a couple weeks ago, and then I'll of course mulch those as well with grass clippings. I did end up adding peppers to my row just because I had a coworker bring some to work and I couldn't let them go to waste, so I planted them in between the ones I already had. So we're gonna have plenty of peppers this year, and they're all doing very marvelous in their little water tunnels. And then of course the basil and the tomatoes are doing well. I did have to tie up the tomatoes. I used nylon stockings as to tie them, and I'm hoping when they get bigger they can crawl up the fence. I do have a cosmos blooming in the back row I see, which is good. So when I put a perimeter of flowers around my garden, I look for 2 things. Number one, that they can attract pollinators like the cosmos over here, and then also to repel bugs. So that's why I have some marigolds that you'll see throughout my garden as well. And then the canna lilies, I just don't know where to put them, so I just put them in the back. And that helps reduce the weeds too. So some more nasturtium to help with the melons. So this was the Shrante, the cantaloupe that I planted. This one was transplanted. This is the one that I grew in the house, and then I actually have 3 plants that are in there that I showed in a video how I direct seeded them into the garden. So as you can see, you can start them early. you can direct seed into the garden and you're pretty much going to end up with the same results. Those 3 are getting so crowded in there. But we have a severe storm coming, so I'm not taking the bucket off because I don't want them to get hail damage. And moving along, we have the peas, and they are doing really well. They're starting to climb up. There is a second crop that was planted later that's behind the fence, but I'm hoping that both will be able to crawl up. They are blooming now, and this is usually the time when you can pick the new peas and use them for like stir fries and stuff like that. Mine are behind, but definitely we're going to be getting peas soon, so I'm pretty excited about that too. The beans are crawling up the bean pole here, and I did plant marigolds around them just to deter aphids and other insects from eating the beans, and they're doing well. And then of course we have the honeydew. Again, this is what I started, the large one is what I started indoors and transplanted outside. And then this is the one that was direct sown in that video that I showed you. So this one you can kind of see that the one that you started inside actually is outperforming this one, which is good. That's what I want to happen, but still nonetheless you can get a good plant just direct sowing the seeds into your garden early enough. And then of course we have our sweet corn, which is really coming along. They did get a little bit windblown the other day, but they look like they're standing up nicely. And the potatoes are doing amazing. So I tried to hill them the best I could. I'm not hilling them anymore. But yes, they have a lot of growth on top, so I'm hoping for a lot of potatoes. And then these were the marigolds that I was telling you about as well, that I have on the southern perimeter here, and this is just for insect control. And their flowers do attract a lot of good beneficial pollinators into the garden as well. And then over on the very west side, I have a row of zinnias again. So that is it for our main large garden. The garlic, again, having to mulch that and make sure that it's watered has been kind of a challenge. So I'm hoping to get these moved to the raised beds. And the chives have been blooming right along. I haven't really used them yet in any dishes yet, but I just keep them growing. And then the mint, it's been either too wet or too dry. So the chocolate mint looks like it got a little too dry, so I just watered that again. But the regular spearmint is doing well. Alright, so for the shallots and the onions, I have to stay on top of my weeding. I need to get that done. That's a weekly chore, if not daily. But they are doing well. They were side dressed with granular fertilizer. So side dressing means you just dig a trench in the middle and you sprinkle the fertilizer in between the rows. And a granular fertilizer is a nice fertilizer to give onions because it's a slow release. So it's consistently feeding the plants over a long period of time. And then over in this grow tunnel, you can see the beets that I planted. That's probably one of the first videos that I made in this series. And they are getting huge under here. They are just... I can't even show you really in the video, but yes, the leaves are just touching the top here. And this is just to protect them from the sun and keep them cool. It's not to protect them from bugs or anything like that, but it does help keep them cool. And then over on this side, you can see we got the carrots growing right along. And then I do have some lettuce that I planted in the middle, so when the carrots are pulled, the lettuce can grow. And then I have yet to plant, so this side is actually empty and it needs to be weeded too, but that's where we're going to do another planting of lettuce and radishes, so we keep our garden, we have a lot of fresh produce that is coming in throughout the growing season instead of all at once during one time. So that's my garden update. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.